Everything's looking good. Everything's sounding good. If you'd like to talk to the people/person,
well, I'd like to thank you here on this very auspicious occasion where we are having a special After Dark, joined not only with your two hosts, John and Ben, the man firmly in the van, and the man in the East Coast, the South Coast studio. Oh, I nearly gave away something there, didn't I? Anyway, we're joined tonight with Elon Musk.
Well,
Elon Musk.
Not the real. Well,
he is the real Elon Musk, unless he's got a doppelganger.
He's not here talking to us, John.
I never said he was. I said we're joined with him.
And so we are going to watch. So I don't know if you all know, but last week there was an all-hands meeting at Twitter because 2 days ago, I believe, at the time of us doing this live, Elon Musk's buyout was approved unanimously by the Twitter board. So it looks like things are going ahead. Can't be 100%, but it looks like things are going ahead. And also to bolster that, just last week there was an all-hands meeting, as in he got on the old FaceTime, got on the camera, and Twitter employees were allowed to ask him questions. And I believe this lasted for roughly 40 minutes. Now, the good folks, James O'Keefe and co. at Project Veritas, decided to, were handed a video copy of the entire meeting, this in-house internal staff meeting, and they leaked it online, and it's available for all to view. So we thought, let's watch it.
Let's give it a shot. Yeah.
Let's watch it. Let's watch it together. Let's talk about it. Let's comment on it, and let's enjoy it. Let's hear what Elon has to say, because you see, there are so many people online right now saying, he just wants to buy social media platforms so that he can control it, censor it more, whatever. But we kind of have to, I guess, obviously entertain that possibility, absolutely, but it hasn't happened yet. Did you get what I mean, John?
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly do.
So it hasn't happened yet, and until it does happen, we can't 100% say that that's the case. So we have to listen to what the man has to say and take him at his word. And so we're going to listen to him talk to Twitter employees and tell them what he thinks. Now, I don't know if you can see down there, John's name tonight is Twitter Misinformation Department. If you really did work for that department, John, I would get your P45 ready.
Yeah, I would hope so.
I would hope so.
I would be expecting it, old bean. Expecting it.
Yes, I believe so. Right, so I'm going to share my screen. This one here. Right, I'm going to share my screen. I think we've done that.
Jack Dorsey is screen sharing.
Jack Dorsey is screen sharing. Right, I've got to make sure that you've got my sound. You've got my sound. So, this is once again from Project Veritas. So, if you can see this, great. If you can see us, great.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining.
So, is this Parag? Is this the CEO, the current CEO?
Yeah, I think it might be.
Right. So let me just make sure all the volumes are good.
It's kind of coloured like Gary Glitter. Gary Lineker, isn't he?
So once again, this video is from Project Veritas, and you can see they've got their watermark all over this. So let's go.
Yes.
Joining this special Q&A session with Elon. Elon, thank you so much for joining us. The company has been so eager to hear from you live and direct, and we all appreciate you joining us today.
Absolutely, Parag, thanks for having me.
Oh yeah, that's Parag. Absolutely.
Oh, Elon's using filters.
Well, of course he is. He's not exactly an attractive man, is he, John?
Well, I suppose he's got to take every advantage that technical sites can throw at him.
But I've just noticed, like me, Elon is buttoned down. Can you see?
Yeah, but I mean, look at him. He's been smoothed. He's been artificially smooth. You couldn't have done that better if you'd gone out with a plasterer and a trowel.
So I think that the Twitter employees have been eager to hear from them, but I think they're terrified. I think they're absolutely terrified. And
I think they have what we term in professional circles a squeaky bum.
Yes, I find the entire thing devilishly delicious, to be honest. Let's continue.
I'm glad to be able to speak to everyone.
And since we started late, I'm gonna go right ahead, hand it over to Leslie so that she can moderate this Q&A session for us.
Okay, sounds good.
Amazing. Thanks, Parag. Hi, Elon.
Oh my God, Leslie.
Oh.
Leslie here. Look at Leslie. Leslie looks like she's just happy to be there.
Leslie's full on. Now, are we missing something? Because we're not seeing the top of her head.
Yeah, that's because of the frame, isn't it?
We're only seeing her from the eyes down.
Yeah, the only way I could resolve that is to just make it smaller. Like
and Elon, for a technical genius, seems to be using his phone in portrait mode.
Yeah, right.
To a 16:9 conference.
Can you see Leslie better like this?
No.
You can't see Leslie better like this?
No.
Well, that's the top of... Where my mouse is the top of the video.
Right, that must be it then. That's what we were seeing. So
just
carry on.
You're fine back like this?
So Leslie hasn't framed herself properly. So, I mean, we're dealing with a technical social media company, right? And we're dealing with a technical whiz kid, genius even, and none of them can frame themselves properly for a Zoom call.
No, I've just put the After Dark frame on, and that does actually make a big difference. So
yeah, that helps. But none of these technical wizards can frame themselves properly for a Zoom call.
Absolutely not.
That's okay. Yeah, carry on, Elon.
I am going to ask you a question that usually gets asked at the end, which is, will you come back for a part 2 at some point, if there are things that we don't cover?
Yeah, absolutely. What happened?
Okay, great. Okay, so you have some breathing room. So,
Elon, I want to have your babies.
I think that was more. She's looking at the list of questions and going, shit.
You'll never get through.
We've only got him for this amount of time.
I really do see this as the beginning of a conversation, obviously, with the company at large, and then also with teams and leaders over the next coming weeks and months and beyond. So we're just getting started. Okay, so I'm going to zoom all the way out to the reason that we're actually here together today, and that is because you love Twitter.
I do love Twitter. Yes, I want to be clear about that. I love Twitter. In fact, I literally have tweeted, I love Twitter.
You have. So
do you think he loves Twitter? Do you think
maybe? Well, he maybe likes using it. I mean, I don't think he loves it. I think he probably likes using it, and he's putting some egg on it. Yeah.
I think it's his social media of choice for sure.
Yeah.
Tell us, say more. Why do you love Twitter, and also why did you and do you want to buy Twitter?
Well, let's see. I mean, I find like I learn a lot from what I read on Twitter and what I see in the pictures, videos, text, and memes that people create. I also find it's a great way to...
He doesn't know. He doesn't know.
He's winging it.
He's really winging it, and that makes me wonder, is this one massive meme? Is this all one massive meme?
Yeah.
Get a message out. If I want to say something or make an announcement, I think Twitter's the best way to do that. It just goes out immediately to everyone. You know, I sort of made this joke already, but you know, some people use their hair to express themselves.
I know you thought that was a fake laugh, right? And
no, I'm just mocking him. It's just general mocking. You know how I like to do that on occasion.
But I can see genuine joy in this man's eyes, right? Right now, I can see genuine joy in this man's eyes.
Or is it Duppel's delight?
This is what I'm getting at. This man, first of all, he bought like 10% of the company, right? He bought a sizable portion of the company already.
9 something percent. Yeah, and then he bought more.
And now he's like, is this a shit-eating grin? Is what I'm saying. Does he know he's managed to wing his way into this sort of meeting when he has no intention of doing the purchase?
Don't know. Let's carry on.
I use Twitter, so you know, I find it's yeah.
He's trying not to laugh.
The best forum for communicating with a lot of people simultaneously and getting that message directly to people. In the past, you'd have to, in order for somebody to read about something, you'd have to issue a press release, or and then you'd hope that the regular media would write about the press release, and then they wouldn't write about it in quite the way you'd like to write about it. I always found those, like, the old style press releases kind of oddly, like, really quite strange, because you're like writing.
I have to pause it there, because can you really convey what you want to convey when it comes to, say, a press release in what used to be 120 and now 240 characters, John?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so
All
either.
you can do is give them a brief synopsis and point them to where your press release is.
I suppose you could give them a thread, but
yeah,
are they going to... I mean, if you're Elon Musk, they probably
who
will.
Reads threads? How many threads do you actually read?
Autism, John. I read them all. If it's a thread, I read it.
You sick fuck. No wonder you don't get any work done.
Yeah.
Anyway, point of order. Where's he doing this?
I was going to say, has he got like a personal chef in the background preparing him a meal?
But that guy's on a computer.
Is he on a computer?
I think he's on a computer, but
that
looks like a fridge.
I was going to say, that looks like a nice American fridge freezer behind him.
So, I mean, is he in the staff room or something at
Tesla?
Wherever his office
SpaceX?
is,
Or is he in his kitchen?
Or is he in his kitchen and there's some random dude fucking about with a computer in the background?
Are you sure
anyway,
that's a computer?
About yourself,
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
Something
I know a computer when I see one.
Media, it's like some overly flat.
Do you know, if he really was shit posting and this was all one big meme, he would have that guy watching porn.
Can you turn him up slightly? I'm mindful of the last time when it was too quiet. Make him
and then hope that the media writes something.
Yeah, more. Keep going.
Ramp
him up.
I think that actually is maybe one of the biggest reasons for me using Twitter, is so I can communicate directly with people and not through the lens of the media. I think there's obviously an important role for the media to play, but as anyone knows who reads the newspaper, it's coming through quite a negative lens. So.
No, it's not coming through a negative lens. It's coming through a propagandist's lens. There's a big difference, because a propagandist can be negative or positive.
Yeah.
It's coming through I think that's a big mistake, calling it a negative lens, right?
Yeah.
Because, let's look at what's happening with Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, that situation right now. And we've got the umbrella guy who is being absolutely destroyed. I know we spoke about him last night, but it's got worse and worse and worse. Mm-hmm. He's being absolutely destroyed by mainstream media, but then the same mainstream media, on the other hand, on the other breath, will simp for Amber Heard, right? And Amber Heard just happens to be this guy's ex.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe, and it is believed, that it's possible that he's the father of her baby.
Mm-hmm.
You have to say, how many newspaper articles do you read that are positive? And how many news articles do you read that are negative? What percentage are positive? What percentage negative? And then when you read about it, it's obviously overwhelmingly negative. And then when you read about something in newspaper is a dated term, in the news,
speak.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, but good news doesn't sell copy.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
So I mean, come on, Elon, that's a bit naive, because let's face it, newspapers have been doing this since they were invented.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to read good news. They just, it's not news if it's good news. I mean, it's like, today. But
like I said,
it's like, if I put a headline in the paper that said, today Mrs. Snopes's cat at number 46 had 13 kittens and they're all doing well, nobody's fucking interested.
No, but once again, the mainstream media are not all the way negative. They are propagandists, and we need to make that differentiation. They're not media.
Yeah, because the media is not how it used to be. The media has evolved into an arm of government.
Yeah.
And rather than calling government to account, like is the traditional role of journalists. It's now the fact that the mainstream media are basically the promotion and propaganda wing of the government.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more.
Where you actually personally understand the situation, how many times have the media gotten it right?
They rarely ever get it right.
I would say almost never. Not never, but almost never. So, this is a way for people to communicate directly with each other, and not through a negative lens. And I think that's extremely.
Has he been on Twitter?
I was going to say, does he fucking use Twitter?
I mean, just a couple minutes ago, he said he loves Twitter. That's just
right. I mean, come on. I mean, we're talking about naivety, and then he goes and says that. Holy shit!
I mean, basically,
slap me with a wet trout. I didn't see that one coming, Elon.
I would say a good 70% of people, humans that are on Twitter, are there for an argument. They're not there to act all nice and be sunshines and rainbows and talk to each other.
I mean, I'll be honest, I like a good argument on Twitter.
So do I. And
it's not. Oh my God, Elon, have you actually used Twitter? The question is begged. It is begged.
Is he getting somebody else to tweet for him on his account?
What was her name? Leslie. Leslie, ask him if he's ever been on fucking Twitter.
I would ask that question. John, cut the swearing, man. Cut the swearing.
Don't you talk to me like that after your behaviour last night.
My behaviour. And then I redeemed myself today by building us an entire second channel.
Oh, you know what that is, don't you?
What?
The world's tiniest violin.
Should we
please carry on?
Should we just listen to the African American?
Yeah, go on.
Important for the world. So I'm sort of waxing on about this, but I think it's pretty important. Some of my comments about Twitter being sort of like a digital town square, but really much more than that, because you can't fit that many people in town square, but you can communicate with millions of people on Twitter. That's just an incredibly important thing, and I think it's essential for a functioning democracy, or to function well. I think it's essential to have a free speech.
Correct. I'm liking this, but is this all hot air?
And to be able to communicate, just communicate freely. Now the free speech stuff does need to be, it's free speech within the context of the law. So I'm definitely not suggesting that we, just flout the law, because we'll get shut down in that case. And I think there's also there's freedom of speech and freedom of reach. And
freedom of what?
He said freedom of speech and freedom of reach. I don't know if I like the sound of that. Does that sound to me like... That sounds to me like shadow banning will still be a thing?
Why?
I mean...
Freedom of reach means shadow banning wouldn't be a thing.
No, did you not? He said there's freedom of speech, then there's freedom of reach. Let's hear what he has to say.
Okay.
Freedom of speech is one thing, because like anyone could just go into the middle of Times Square right now and say anything they want. They just walk into the middle of Times Square and deny the Holocaust. Okay, you can't stop them. They will just do that. But that doesn't mean that needs to be promoted to millions of people.
I don't like the sound of that. I mean, obviously, I agree with what he's saying, that the take that he's using, the example he's using, is pretty awful, right?
This is a wrong example. You can't use that example because
he's using a very extreme example.
But you can't even use that example because that example is like an anathema. You're just not allowed to talk about it now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's illegal in Austria.
Yeah, which is...
And people are in jail for it. A British author was put in jail for it, for writing a book He wrote a book and he got put in jail.
Which is obviously awful, right?
Yeah.
And despite the fact I don't agree with anything, I don't agree with denial of that particular thing.
Well, no, hold on. Denial is a religious term, right?
Okay.
Okay, you do not deny things. Unless, if you're a scientist, you don't deny things. You look at the facts and you come to a conclusion, right? If your conclusion may be right, your conclusion may be wrong.
Yeah.
And that goes for things that have happened in history as well. You can look at them, you can examine them, you can verify them, you can speak to people, you can do as much research as you like, but ultimately the decision comes to you and you alone, whether you believe a certain course of events or not.
Okay, so
right?
let me rephrase then. I wouldn't agree with people that say it didn't happen, but that's just my personal opinion, and everybody's got their own right to say that say that it didn't. They got a right to say it.
That's fine. They should have a right to say it.
Absolutely.
But they don't. But social constraints and peer pressure are stopping people from saying that they don't believe or they do believe. Well, everybody says they do believe, right? So that's why this is a terrible example, because this is the most extreme and the most talked about thing. And I could easily do a whole episode on this topic.
You could, but
nobody
more
would put
importantly,
it anywhere.
More importantly, is he about to go on to say that shadow banning is still going to be a thing?
I think he's about to say that you don't have the right to tell people. I think he's going to say you don't have the right to tell everyone in the world that you think this doesn't happen.
Should we listen?
Yeah.
So I think people should be allowed to say, pretty outrageous things that are within the bounds of the law, but then they don't, it doesn't get amplified. It doesn't get, a ton of.
Yep.
Shadow banning is going to be a thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, or what do you call it?
Artificial silencing.
Well, yeah. I mean, they've got a term for it. It's not just shadow banning. It's something to do with
deboosting.
Deboosting. That's it. Deboosting. You're going to get deboosted if you're saying the wrong thing.
But what is the wrong thing? And like you said, he's used an extreme example, and I want to know where that line is.
So what he's done is he's used that extreme example so as people will agree with them, right?
Right.
Now, if we then say, I actually believed Amber Heard, right, and I think maybe she was right, okay?
Yeah.
No, this is hypothetical, okay? So if I believed Amber Heard was right and she was hard done to by the jury,
yeah,
and I think that Johnny Depp may have been wrong, right? Yeah, this is hypothetical, right?
Right.
Then my speech is either going to be deboosted or not deboosted, depending on whose decision.
Well, if it's Elon, and he's probably being blackmailed
by Heard. See, that's that. Who's making the decision? Who is the arbiter? Who decides whether a reply should be deboosted or not?
This is what I want to know. This is what worries me. This is what worries me greatly.
Is all he going to do is switch it from a Democrat platform to a Republican platform?
But do you know what? All I want to do is hear people speak. Right? And that's all I want to hear what people believe. I want to hear what they genuinely believe, even if I vehemently disagree with it. Mm-hmm. I want to hear what they believe. I want to hear what they're all about. I want to hear what their values are, because if we continue to do what we are doing, which is force people into self-censorship rather than getting them censored, because that's the other option, then we don't know these people. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they truly believe.
When you bury issues like this,
they don't go away.
They don't go away. And what happens if people don't get to express themselves? It will come out in other forms.
Yeah.
And those other forms can sometimes be very much in the line of violence.
Absolutely. And do you know what? It's like when an animal's backed into a corner, it lashes out.
Exactly.
Right? And essentially, human beings are animals. We have those same instincts. If we're backed into a corner, we'll either roll over and die, or we will lash out, right?
Yeah.
I just with this, I don't agree with this whole deboosting thing, right? I fully stand alongside taking down content that breaches the First Amendment, right?
Yeah, that's where I draw the line. Okay,
yeah.
that's all you take down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But otherwise, let people speak.
Absolutely. And you know what? If you don't agree with it, don't read it.
No, tell them.
Reach. And I think an important goal for Twitter would be to try to include as much of the country, as much of the world as possible. So currently, it's a relatively small percentage of the world that is, and it is a small percentage of the world that is on Twitter. If you say like daily active users, if you assume that that's say 200 million, you've got 8 billion people on Earth. That's 7.8 billion who are not on Twitter.
Well, this is it. Twitter, in the grand scheme of things, is tiny. It's a tiny platform.
The problem is Twitter's never going to be a world platform because it's not controlled enough.
Well, you say that. It is where elections are decided. Such a small platform. It is where elections are decided.
It's not going to be a world platform because the problem is that governments that exercise full control don't have access to it. And unless he gives them access to it, it won't be allowed there.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Like so China, CCP,
Yeah.
Pretty big number. And really, I think you want as much of the world as possible on Twitter. You want to be as inclusive as possible, the broadest demographic. And for that to happen, people must like being on Twitter. So if they're being like harassed or if they're uncomfortable, they're just not going to use Twitter. And they're, so, we have to sort of strike this balance of, allowing people to say what they want to say, but also making people comfortable on Twitter.
No.
He's a globalist.
I disagree with that. Right?
He's a globalist.
It's not about making people comfortable because people have. If you want to make, so here's a suggestion: if you want to make people comfortable, give them more tools. So they've got the tools to block, they've got the tools to mute. Give them more tools. Give them more tools to control and curate their own experience, but do not curate the overall experience.
No. But his speech and his thinking just tells me, it screams at me, I am a globalist. I want one world government.
I'm not so sure about that so far.
Oh, I think so.
But
that's what I've read from this so
I'm
far.
kind of not liking what I'm hearing. I'm not going to lie.
Well, they simply won't use it. It will be, it'll be sort of quite niche. But I think there's also a lot that should be done in terms of enhancing the core technology and offerings of Twitter. Like right now, if somebody does, say, a video, like let's say a content creator does a video, then they're going to put that video on YouTube and just put a link to it from Twitter because they're able to.
I think what he's going to say here is actually something I agree with.
Yeah.
He's wanting to allow people. See, I made this suggestion ages ago. Why not have a YouTube type system within Twitter? People would use it.
Well, I think what he's going to say is they put it on YouTube because it can be monetized, and they link to it from Twitter.
Yeah, but we've also only got 2 minutes and 20 seconds on Twitter.
Yeah, but he's also going to say why not allow them to monetize it on Twitter?
Let's hear.
Monetize their content on YouTube, but not on Twitter. And I think it's going to be really important for, if you want people to put the content on Twitter, which we do, then there has to be a mechanism for content creators to monetize that content. And so they could dual post it. They could post it to YouTube and to Twitter. But I think it's crazy right now that, content.
I think it's crazy that we can only have 2 minutes and 20 seconds. I think it's crazy. Yeah, I can live stream to Twitter if I use Restream and something like that, and so I can live stream like a full quality show. We're doing it right now, but if this show could be monetized right now on Twitter through the account that it's going through, our press account, which has got nearly 8,000 followers, right?
So we could be making money.
We could be making at least something, and we wouldn't have to keep asking for donations. Indeed.
Creators will use Twitter to drive traffic to their YouTube video, because that's how they make a living. and that really should be on Twitter.
See, I agree with this because...
Yeah, I agree with that.
So Twitter are missing an opportunity, aren't they? They're missing an opportunity to get advertising dollars. Because obviously when you monetize content, YouTube are still getting, I would say, 80-90% of the ad revenue, right?
There is a downside here, okay?
What's that?
Well, if you allow people to monetize their videos, then you've got to take away the ability to block ads.
Yes, unless you lean into the paid service, like YouTube have.
Subscription model, yeah.
Because there already is one, Twitter Blue.
Well, I can see a multi-tier system coming up, yeah.
Yeah, there is one. It's already in place called Twitter Blue. I believe Elon uses it.
Okay.
Like this, we want to basically address the reasons that people, like why aren't more people using Twitter, and why do people click away from Twitter? And if we can address those reasons, then they'll use Twitter more, and they'll get greater value from the service, and if I think of like WeChat in China, which is actually a great app.
No, it's not. I mean, it probably is a good app, but it's highly regulated and controlled.
It's a great app if you're a globalist and you want to control everyone.
I haven't used it, but it's. I imagine it's highly regulated, it's highly controlled, but it might be good technology, and that's what he may be talking about. Benefit of the doubt. You
can tie it into your social credit score.
But there's no WeChat equivalent in outside of China, and I think that.
Well, the reason there's no WeChat equivalent outside of China is because every other freaking social media platform is banned in China. So they literally amalgamated them into a couple. I think there's WeChat and Weibo. They amalgamated the idea of the Western social media platforms into these two sort of main ones. So I get where he's going here. He's looking at this and going, this is an all-encompassing, all-arching social media platform that combines. It's basically what Facebook does, right? But I don't know if
Facebook does it really badly.
Yeah, because we've got a Facebook page at Chasing Dissent, but you simply don't use it.
I'll get there. I've been freaking busy. I'm working my butt off.
But I don't even know if we can monetize content on there. I don't know. You know, at least on Rumble, for example, we are monetized. I know we've only ever made about 5 cents over the lifetime of the channel.
5 cents.
You know what? It's 5 cents more than we've ever made off YouTube.
Yeah, that's true.
That is true.
That's
right?
True.
And
a damn sight more than we've ever made off Twitter.
And you know what? If I had been allowed to just continue growing on my first or second Twitter account, both surpassed 10,000 followers. I was bigger than Anna Breeze, and I was bigger than Save Our Rights UK. Yeah,
you were nearly at 20 on that second account.
So I was bigger than Save Our Rights UK and Anna Breeze on my first account, right? And then they just no reason. I've never had a reason. I don't know why. I don't know what I did. You know.
You know what you did.
I actually don't. That's the thing.
Tell the truth.
Yeah, that's true. And hopefully, you know, I will take deboosting with that level of following already over being outright silenced or unpersoned or you know, stuck down the memory hole. And we've never been abusive. We've never threatened anyone. We've never done anything like that. I mean, there's been a lot of lies about us, obviously. But But
anyway, we better crack on because it's taking
there's a real opportunity to create that sort of, you know, you basically live on WeChat in China. So because
you're not allowed on anything else.
So useful and you know, so helpful to your daily life. And I think
because you're not allowed on anything else.
Is it tied into the social credit score?
Probably.
Get close to that with Twitter being an immense success. Hopefully that's you know, I really went on there, but and I'm happy to elaborate on any of those points.
Yeah, no, it's great, and we're gonna get a little bit deeper.
Oh fuck, Leslie's back. Oh, excuse my language.
On free speech and policy a little bit later, so I do want to come back to this.
Hold
actually.
on a minute. Is Leslie a Vulcan? No, check those ears.
Yeah, I know. I'm just doing the thing. I'm doing the thing. Live long and prosper, John.
Right, carry on. It's taking us 20 minutes to do 8
you
minutes.
Clearly have a lot of thoughts around sort of the problems with Twitter, the things that aren't working well, or sort of the barriers to what's possible. How do you see your buying the company? Does that sort of feed your desire to buy the companies, or how do you see these things sort of come together? And what's your thought process around that?
I'll tell you what his thought process is. I made a meme, and now it's a very expensive meme.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm either going to have to follow it through, or I'm going to be billions in the hole.
Yeah.
I mean, he put 420 in the bloody in the offer.
Yeah. Come on, crack on.
Well, there's definitely an ongoing challenge with Twitter with bot accounts and spam accounts. There's still quite a lot of crypto scams on Twitter.
Yes, there are.
It's gotten better, but there's still a fair bit of that. There are also people where they're not necessarily bots, but they might be operating. One person's operating hundreds of accounts and trying to make them look like individuals, but they're not. So, I think it's.
Hi, Paul.
And a lot of this I'm kind of reiterating stuff that I said publicly, but in fact on Twitter.
I said that to the one person operating hundreds of accounts.
In order for people to have trust in Twitter, I think it's extremely important that there be transparency. So that's why I'm an advocate of, say, having the algorithm be open source so that people can critique it, improve it, identify bugs potentially or bias. But when it's transparency obviously increases.
What's he talking about, John?
He's talking about making the algorithm open source so people know what the algorithm's doing. But
why not just remove the algorithm?
And we had a term for this in the old days when I was in the police, and we used to call it flowery pish. So carry on.
I wouldn't make the algorithm open source. I would not make it algorithmic.
So I think it's just very important, anything that's happening on an automated basis be open source and be clear, and that if there is any action taken by someone within Twitter to boost or deboost or something with a tweet, that it's just very clearly identified on the tweet, so people aren't ascribing to malice that which is not the way where there's no malice.
Oh. So what he's trying to say is, if they do deboost a tweet, they will be clear about it and say, this tweet is deboosted. Rather than...
That's all right. Yeah. It's not all right, but it's better than what we have just now. Yeah,
I agree with that. Obviously, I don't agree with the core argument of deboosting at all, but... at least a bit of transparency is better, I guess. At least they'd say, you are a bad person and you can't say this to as many people. And I go, hey.
But at least you know.
But when it's inscrutable, then people don't know what to think, and they will sometimes think the worst when that's actually not true. So I think that trust is extremely important, and then just for the usefulness of the system, getting rid of sort of troll farms and bots and spam is incredibly important. I have a thought in this regard, which I think might work, which is to, there's currently this Twitter Blue, but if you get Twitter Blue, it doesn't, your identification in the system does not change at all. Like, you still look like a normal user ID. But I think if there was like a little, Twitter Blue authenticated, not like authenticated like a celebrity, but authenticated at least by Twitter Blue payments, is using piggybacking on the payment system to do authentication. That I think a lot of people will be like, okay, that's pretty helpful to have some designation that is next to my name that indicates I'm probably not a bot or spam or one of.
Okay, so as long as it's opt-in, I've got no issue with that. I don't think. Do you?
No, it sounds okay just now. Carry on and see if he
one person is operating 100 accounts. That's like $3 a month, I believe. I think that would be pretty helpful. And then, and then also prioritizing comments and mentions and whatnot by who is verified in this broader sense, the word of verification, in the sense of the Twitter Blue verified, and just prioritize that above someone who's not.
That's pay to play.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, carry on.
That's pushing you into paying them.
Not verified. So there will still be full read access to the system, still be full write access to the system, but you essentially any tweets or actions will be prioritized according to who's verified, and then a very large number of people can be verified.
If they pay you,
so that's like super chat.
Yeah, that is well, they already have the subscription service, Shalini. Like he said, I think it's about $3 a month. It's called Twitter Blue, right? And he's saying, so rather than you having to submit over any ID or anything like that, they can piggyback on the payment system and say, well, this is a definite person because they're paying us money, right? They don't have to have your ID or anything like that. They just have to say, well,
yeah. So yeah, okay.
Like Adam says, authenticated accounts are fine. I absolutely agree with that being an option. However, this idea of prioritizing people who pay, I don't like that. I don't like it at all.
I'm going to have a couple of.
But that's the way capitalism works.
That is the way capitalism works. But this is meant to be a conversation arena. Right, monetize content, put on ads, monetize yourself. Many.
You show me one social media other than Twitter at the moment that doesn't do that.
Well, it doesn't prioritize people who pay.
Yeah, Instagram prioritizes people who pay. Facebook does it. YouTube does it. So
I don't like it.
No, I know you don't like it, but they all use it.
Purely because I can't afford to pay them, John.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Follow-up questions on this specifically, but given you mentioned trust, I wanted to ask one of the employee questions around trust. They said, Twitter has a lot of incredible, smart, talented people. What can we do to earn your trust, and what are you going to do to earn ours?
He's going to fire three-quarters of you.
She's just said, I'll translate for those that might not have picked up on what she said. She's just said, what we are you going to fire us all?
We don't trust you, is what she just said.
Yeah. We don't trust you. Are you going to fire us all?
I think I don't know. Trust is as trust does. I tend to be extremely literal in what I say. Aspirationally, one does not need to read between the lines. One can simply read the lines. So the things that I've said about Twitter, I think need to happen in order for it to be, to really go to the next level. I mean, I think the potential is there for Twitter to have be accessible to an order of magnitude more people, and for a lot more people to find it useful. Not currently, I guess it would be 4% of the world or something like that. I don't know. 4 or 5% of the world optimistically is finding Twitter useful, and maybe 50% of the world could find Twitter useful.
That's a bit optimistic.
So I want to take whatever actions would lead to that, and I'm very much like it's I wouldn't say essentially a trust thing. It's like if somebody's getting useful things done, then that's great. But if they're not getting useful things done, then I'm like, okay, why are they at the company? So it's really just we need to improve the core technology, improve the design, and so.
He's basically telling them that their platform is a bit shit.
Yeah, and he left out improve the technology, improve the design, improve the staff.
Trust emerges from that.
Yeah, I mean, trust. Yes, it's not like I'd say trust is not the. It's not exactly the. It's like, you know, if somebody's getting stuff done, great, I love them, and if they're not, I don't like them. Then I do not love them. It's pretty straightforward.
I'm your boss. Do as you're told.
Yeah. Well,
I would love to stay on this topic of employees and how we work. So distributed work is something that has been core to our strategy. Most of
Stop. So she's just asked them about working from home.
Yeah.
Now, what's he just done? What's he just done at Tesla and SpaceX?
Hasn't he just told people they're not allowed to work from home?
He said, if you don't come into the office and you don't turn up for 3 days in a row, consider yourself, I'll consider that you've resigned. So get back in the office and do the work and be there for a minimum, I think, was well, for an exec, I think he was talking about 80 hours a week or something, but I don't think he could actually say that. But yeah, so she's just asked him about working from home. So let's see what this
people
goes.
work in a hybrid model, about 1,500 people work remote full time. We know that you recently sent a communication to Tesla executives about remote work. Can you share what your point of view is on remote work and specifically for Twitter?
Yeah, so now Tesla makes cars, and you cannot make cars remotely. Obviously, you have to make cars in a big factory, and the supply chain, and you have to
speaking the obvious,
bring in the parts and assemble them and then transport the car.
He's being disingenuous here because there are a lot of functions that go into making cars.
Also,
that people don't need hands-on.
Also, is he really going to tell them right now that he's going to fire them all if they work from home?
He's just going to soften them up.
I can say, is he trying to still kind of stroke their egos at this point?
Yes, I think he's. Yeah, I think
to the owner, all of these things must be done in person because it's physically impossible to do them remotely. Now there are some roles at Tesla where the work can be done remotely, like say software or design, so that I think that's still a case where you want to aspire to do things in person. But if somebody is exceptional at their job, then it's possible for them to be effective even working remotely. So with Tesla, I simply have asked for a list, that the manager has to confirm that they're an excellent contributor, and if they do, they're allowed to work remotely. So it's pretty basic, I think.
Yep.
There is a hit one takes remotely because it does reduce esprit de corps, and it's hard to if you just it kind of matters to be in person, at least some of the time. So one of the things I said, even if somebody's working remotely, they got to show up at the office occasionally so that they recognize their colleagues and don't have you don't walk down the street and pass your colleague and you don't even recognize them. That would not be good.
Well, I must say, and I'm going to speak to our own experience here, I think we would probably get more done if we weren't so remote, right?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, and because, sometimes we miss calls, sometimes we can't get a hold of each other, sometimes we can't get each other online, sometimes one of our internet connections won't work. So I think we would get a lot more done here if we weren't remote. But
yeah, if we had premises and we went into them every morning and did a day's work, we would get a lot more done.
Absolutely.
And I know if Adam had to go to work every day, he'd get a lot more done. But yeah,
that was a shot fired, John.
Shots fired.
That was a shot fired to the tech guy. Just fire it over there. But no, we would be able to plan things out better.
Yeah,
be able to shoot things.
Right. You lose the water cooler chat and all that as well. Okay, you miss the office politics, but hey, you put a big dent in your internal communications when people are remote all the time.
Adam says it's worse in his office. We're based all over the world and nobody does any work anyway. I mean, we saw some interesting
exactly.
We saw some interesting photographs from Adam's work today, didn't we, John?
Yes, we did.
Playing video games.
And some illegal activity.
Yes, but we shall leave that there.
Yeah. No, I think this is super clarifying and resonates with us and entirely in terms of how we work. So thank you for clarifying that topic. It's really
He didn't clarify it at all.
No, he could be a politician.
I would like to keep on the topic of employees and some of the questions that have come through. This one's on compensation and benefits. Most people, especially obviously here, are used to working for a public company. Can you talk a little bit about how you compensate folks at SpaceX as a private company? How does it work, and what approach you plan to take at Twitter as a private company?
Basically, are you going to pay us more money? That's the question.
Yeah, or are we going to get as much as we're getting just now?
Are we going to get things like dental?
Yeah, so SpaceX, I think, operates in the best of both worlds, where stock and options are issued to everyone, but we don't have all the challenges of being a publicly traded company where the stock can be up and down from one day to the next and be quite a distraction, and where one is at the mercy of short sellers and class action lawsuits, and just generally, it's like being in the stockade, public stockade, and they just throw tomatoes at you all day. But SpaceX still allows liquidity, and so every 6 months there's a liquidity event at SpaceX, and people have the opportunity to sell their shares, and that's worked very well for the whole life of the company.
So SpaceX is essentially a mini co-op.
Yeah, and Tesla's a public traded company anyway. So
you know the actual co-op here in the UK?
Yeah.
I own shares in co-op.
Do you? Yeah, because you
I
got
worked
one of their
for them.
cards, no? Or you
I
worked
worked for them.
Oh, and they gave you some stock?
Yeah. I got shares whenever I did a day in lieu.
Yeah?
Whenever I did like a bank holiday, I would get double pay, a day in lieu, and some stock options.
Cool.
It was good.
So
yes, Shalini, the shop. I used to be a supervisor at the co-op. I had a key and everything.
I think something like that would make sense at Twitter. So it'd still be stock and options and everything, and there'd just be liquidity events twice a year.
Great, and thanks. We are getting some real-time feedback on the remote work question, so I just want to make sure I follow up.
Sure.
Your
Basically, the staff are freaking out.
approach to remote work and distributed work at Twitter, is that what I'm hearing from you, is that you are supportive of remote and distributed work as it is productive and meaningful, and people show up when it's important and depending on their jobs. Is that an accurate reflection?
Yeah, I mean, the bias definitely needs to be strongly towards working in person. But if somebody is exceptional, then remote work can be okay. But then if they're
none of you arseholes are getting remote work. It's that simple.
If you're exceptional, you get remote work.
That is what you say. You say, none of you people are getting remote work.
Let's just think about this for one tiny second. So he says, if you're exceptional. Now, what does that mean? That means you are the exception.
Yeah.
To most of your colleagues.
Absolutely.
So you will not be getting remote working.
Well, put it this way: the trust and safety team will not be. I would say will not be working from home. Will not be working anymore. There's nobody exceptional in there, and I think it's Vijaya Gaddy, the Twitter lawyer / head of trust and safety. Elon has publicly called her out on Twitter a fair few times over the course of this year. She is not staying in position.
If their work output is exceptional, then remote work is fine. There is some communication, impact that one takes when working remotely, because if you're with people, and they're just, a few desks.
This is exactly what I was just saying about us.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to communicate in real time. But it's much harder to do that if you're in different physical locations. So I do want to emphasize that the bias is very much towards in-person work. It's just that it would obviously be insane if someone is excellent at what they do, but can only work remotely, to then fire them even though they're doing excellent work would be insane. So I'm definitely not in favor of things that are like mad. I'm in favor of things that build the business and make it better.
Thank you. Question about layoffs. We've received several questions from employees on this point. Obviously, they've read about the recent layoffs at Tesla. Can you speak to how you're thinking about layoffs at Twitter?
Well, I think it depends on, the company does need to get healthy. So right now the costs exceed the revenue.
That's code for
so
that's code for we need to trim the fat.
Yes, indeed. It is absolutely code for that, indeed.
That's not a great situation to be in. And so there would have to be some rationalization of headcount and expenses to have revenue be greater than cost. Otherwise, Twitter is simply not viable or can't grow. So I think it would just be dependent on but like I said, anyone who's obviously like a significant contributor should have nothing to worry about. Like I'm not I do not take actions which are destructive to the health of the company.
What does he mean by destructive to the company? Because
No. What he said was anyone who is a significant contributor, i.e. who works their butt off, so
yes,
there's nothing to worry about. And he won't take actions that are destructive to the company, i.e. he won't just fire people for the sake of
I don't think he meant that.
What do you think he meant?
I think he meant that the company is already in complete self-destruct mode. It doesn't make a profit. It doesn't turn a profit. And so keeping it as it is and the staffing as it is would be destructive to the company.
Yeah, yeah, but he's never said he's going to keep it as it is. He's going to lay people off.
I think a very, very vast amount of people too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Elon, question connected to that. As you're obviously learning and gaining information as we get closer to this deal being closed, what do you feel that you have sort of a deep understanding and grasp of, and what are the areas that you feel you want to dive much more deeper on to understand and learn?
Well, I have a great understanding of the product because I use Twitter every day practically, and I think I've got a really good understanding of how Twitter works from a product standpoint. What I have less of an understanding of is like this sort of bot spam or multi-user account. Basically, anything that affects the monetizable daily user number that's probably my biggest concern because that's really what drives advertising revenue as well as subscription revenue. And really,
that's a fair point.
Revenue is going to be subscription, advertising. I think payments would be an interesting thing to do as well. But all of those things are only relevant as a function of how many unique humans are on the system. So that's my biggest concern, and that's what I've said publicly as well. Like I said, I try to be as literal as possible. Yeah.
And as we think about obviously the product and the service and serving customers all around the world, clearly it's critical and existential for us to serve diverse communities and all people, as you said earlier. So inclusion and diversity is obviously core and central to our work at Twitter, both our employees and the customers that we serve.
Why?
Right.
Why?
Well, let's go back to the last point. What was he talking about there? He said, what did he say?
I was zoned out for a second there, John. But I've zoned back in on this. Jesus Christ! Right, diversity. Let's break down the meaning of the word diversity, shall we? It means difference. It means, well, basically that. It means different perspectives, different opinions, different thoughts. But what they think diversity means is what skin color you are, who you sleep with, and whether or not you've transitioned.
Yeah. So the thing that gets me is Twitter's probably the least diverse platform because it tries to homogenize everyone's ideals.
Absolutely, it does. I was going to say it doesn't want, it doesn't understand, and it doesn't advocate diversity.
It doesn't want debate. It doesn't want argument, and there's nothing wrong with these things, in a healthy society.
No, in fact, it is to the betterment of the health of a society if you can argue, if you can put your point across, if you can come to middle grounds and conclusions, but they don't allow this.
Absolutely.
And it's let's take the last 2.5 years as an example, right? Once again, careful with our words because we have to be, but facts, verifiable facts. People were permanently banned off that platform
for quoting facts.
And
verifiable, medically approved facts.
Absolutely. Yeah. And facts that are now, at this point in time, recognised by the mainstream as facts, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yet those people who were just a little bit ahead of the curve have not been apologised to, have not been reinstated. I'm a prime example of that, right? Mm-hmm. Have not been reinstated, have not been apologised to, have just been memory hold. Because at the time, narrative was more important than fact. And people like us are inconvenient to the drive of narrative, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the same with this diversity thing. When they say diversity, they don't mean a range of opinions, a range of thoughts, a range of theories, a range of a melting pot of ideas. What they mean is we're racists, we're sexists, and all we care about is what that person's skin colour is, whether or not they've got a cock between their legs, and whether or not, Jim sleeps with Shane. That's all they mean. They're putting people in boxes by the way they look, who they pray to, who they sleep with. That's not diversity. I'm sorry, it's not. It's a bastardization of it.
You've been vocal on a variety of different topics and issues that relate to inclusion and diversity. Can you talk about both your views and also your commitment to creating a diverse and inclusive workplace and also a service where everyone can feel included and safe?
What's this word safe? Yeah. What is this word safe? What does it mean?
Yeah, I mean, well, to be clear, if everyone talks about I said about Twitter as a whole, like there's 8 billion people in the world. There's sort of, I'm told there's 200 million, daily users of Twitter. That's a 7.8 billion person gap. So I think we really want to have, at least 1 billion people on Twitter, maybe more. As many people as we can possibly get on Twitter. So that I think is the most inclusive definition of inclusiveness. It's like all humans. So,
That's a wonderfully vague answer there, Mr. Musk. I actually approve.
That's important. From a company standpoint, I believe in a sort of strict meritocracy. So whatever, whoever's doing great work, great. They get more responsibility and authority, and that's that.
Good.
Oh, he's answered the question, but he's not addressed anything about a diverse and safe workplace, has he?
I know, it's great. That's a good answer. That's a good answer. That's basically, he said earlier on, I'll kind of quote him. He said, I want a workplace where it's read the lines, not read between the lines. But I'm reading firmly between the lines there, right?
Yeah. Right.
And firmly between the lines, he's saying, it's not about what you look like. It's not about who you sleep with. It's not about where, who you pray to.
You know what he's saying? He's saying you might live in a democracy, but you don't fucking work in one.
No, he's saying do the work and you'll get promoted. Don't do the work and you won't.
And I know you mentioned in some of our conversations about your I&D team at Tesla. We have an amazing I&D team here at Twitter as well. So continue on the journey together.
You're getting fired, Leslie.
I wanted to talk about content moderation. Go back to a number of the things that you said earlier. So this is one I'll take verbatim. So you've spoken a lot about the importance of free speech. Let's start with the U.S., where we have a strong tradition around this. And you touched on this earlier. A lot of what's called lawful but awful speech is allowed here in the United States, right? Animal abuse, footage, doxing, videos of sexual violence, etc. So allowing this type.
I don't think doxing is allowed. I don't think doxing is allowed.
Of content obviously could cause harm and make Twitter unusable for the broad audience that you're trying to reach. What is your approach to this type of content that's sort of legal but problematic as it relates to people actually using the service? How do you think about this tension?
They can block. They can block. They can press the block button. That's all. That's all they have to do.
As I said earlier, really, I think we should allow people to say what they want, post what they want within the bounds of the law. But that's different from them being able to reach people who don't want to be reached with that content. So
that's a better way of going around it. People who don't want to be reached. Mm-hmm. That tells me exactly what I said earlier. Give the people the tools to not see the content they don't want to see. Yeah. Simple as that. Allow people to curate their own experience. And I'm hoping that is what he is getting at.
So if that content is offensive, then to people, those people will simply stop using Twitter. So it's important to make Twitter as attractive as possible. And really that means not showing people content that they would find hateful or offensive or even frankly content.
But it needs to be by their own hand.
Yeah, well, that's fair. You can do that in most of the other social platforms as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's not
you decide what you want to look
So
at.
We don't even want them to see boring content. Unless we were talking about TikTok last night. And TikTok obviously does like a great job of making sure you are not bored. I mean, it does like feel like ADD, but like next level. But
ADD is a very good way to describe TikTok.
Yeah.
But TikTok
remember the guy that invented and diagnosed ADD said he did come out and say he made it up to excuse bad parenting.
Does a great job.
No, he did. I mean, that's
bored.
I'm not joking. That's true.
I mean,
ADD's not a thing.
What, you mean just like long coof? Anyway, let's go.
The video's offensive, I think, but they're not boring. So the folks we like, how do we ensure people have content that they find entertaining and engaging and interesting, such that they want to keep using Twitter and use it more? So that's essential to the growth of the service.
What's essential to the growth of the service is you allow people to curate their own experience.
Yeah, and one of our employees asked about sort of people who use Twitter having the right and the ability to filter out content that they don't want to see. I think this gets to exactly what you're pointing to.
Mm-hmm.
I
mean, to be clear, it's like the standard is much more than not offending people. The standard should be that they're very entertained and informed. You.
Do you know what? I'd quite like my social media platform to entertain and inform me.
Yeah.
You could not offend someone, but you could also bore them and show them a bunch of content that they don't find interesting, and then they will not use the service, or they will use it less. So that's why I use the example of TikTok, where they just hone the algorithm to be as engaging as possible. And I think we want to also hone it to be as engaging as possible in a different way. I think, where that's like TikTok is interesting, but like you want to be informed about like serious issues as well. And I think Twitter, in terms of like serious issues, can be a lot better in informing people about serious issues.
Yeah.
I do think it's important that they're.
He's going to turn it into TikTok, isn't he?
I would hope not.
I mean, you can monetize your videos on TikTok.
Yeah, I know.
He's going to turn it into TikTok, isn't he?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, TikTok is like being... So, obviously, we have a TikTok account. we do have one. We don't really upload to it much. I should upload to it more because it's building an audience at the end of the day. But the main reason I never make content or upload to TikTok is because the second I turn the bloody app on, the second I open it, it's blasting some ridiculous video out at me. And I'm loath to use the word offensive because I'm not offended by the content.
No, it's annoying. It's maybe not offensive, but it is annoying.
I think actually I want to use the word offensive because that's how my senses feel the second that I open TikTok. My senses feel offended.
Okay, I just find it annoying.
Autism, John.
I don't even have it on my phone.
Autism, John. Autism.
Well, I just don't have it.
It's
an evil application run by an evil organization.
So I open it up and I try and skip into our profile where there's silence as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I just don't have it. And
Well,
I'm not interested in using it.
I'm interested in uploading to it because hey, I don't care if the CCP looks at our content, quite frankly, right? I wonder.
Well, you will when they own the UK and we are targeted for destruction.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
When we're lined up and terminated.
But right now I've got a keen idea to dress up as Winnie the Pooh and start making speeches on TikTok in a very offensive Chinese accent sometimes.
You get pulled.
I imagine I'd get pulled if I just sat here dressed in a Winnie the Pooh costume with CCP flag behind me. Just go, you do what you're told! You do what you're told right now! To see how quickly I can get pulled from TikTok.
Let's get on. You've got an early start tomorrow. Come on.
If there are two sides to an issue, it's important to represent, if there are multiple opinions, but, and just make sure that we're not sort of driving a narrative.
I like that.
Yeah, I like
give people
that.
an opportunity to understand the various sides of issues. Most issues in the world are complex. They don't boil down to a simple.
Not according to current Twitter. If you have a certain view, you got to go. That's how.
This is 100% good and this is 100% bad. So I think it would be it would have a more informed public if people were presented with multiple sides to an issue.
One point I just want to go back to on sort of the law and sort of how that impacts content and moderation. As we think globally around the world, there are some countries, right, that have laws that limit speech,
which they shouldn't have.
And sometimes actually use these laws to silence disagreement with the government, etc. You were talking about different points of view.
Aren't they trying to do that to us, John? Aren't they pretty much doing that to you in Scotland?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they are.
Yeah.
I just ignore them, though.
You make an offensive comment about wee Jimmy Cranky round the dinner table, you could find yourself in a bit
I'll
of
make
hot
it.
water,
I'll make
John.
it right here and now. I'll make offensive comments about wee Jimmy Cranky. I don't care.
Good boy.
And
Twitter.
if you want to come and find me, then give it your best shot. Anyway, she's in Italy just now, isn't she?
Oh, she's on holiday again.
Yeah, like Como.
Going off to America, going off to Italy.
With her friend.
Just come out.
Who's a female.
We know, Nicola. We know.
Everybody knows.
We know.
Just come out. Bloody hell.
We don't care.
Just do what Gary did. Come out.
Yeah, we don't get. Oh my God, Gary. Good Gary.
We'll talk about Gary tomorrow.
Yeah, we will.
Historically focused on doing what we can do to enable people everywhere to have their voices. How do you think about that as it relates to, again, like the local laws and what that means?
Well, I mean, I'm in favor of doing, of going as far as the law will allow us. If the law, if say Twitter employees would get arrested in the country if we didn't adhere to the law, then we obviously must adhere to the law or exit the country or something. So
adhere to the laws of the United States of America. Base your company entirely there. Bob's your uncle.
Most of his employees will be in India.
It's true.
I mean, seriously,
as
most of
much
them
as
will
we
be.
can enable people
All
to
his
have a
devs will
voice.
be in India.
Yeah.
And to speak their mind, I think we want to do that. Yeah.
And I know we talked about this as well last night about the teams doing this work and sort of your desire to connect with those teams and sort of understand sort of where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. And I think that would be hugely productive across the board, both ways. Can we talk briefly about your political views? How, if at all?
Why? Why are his political views relevant to the conversation?
What's it got to do with his staff?
Absolutely nothing,
Or what,
I would say.
what will become his staff?
Absolutely nothing. And Leslie, you're walking on thin ice there, girl. You're walking on thin... Well, she works for Twitter, so am I supposed to call her they?
I think Leslie might be on the way out.
Do your political views...
I would have pulled Leslie up.
Do you know what I would do?
See when he didn't answer the second part of the question about the, when the staff were asking about something, and he didn't answer the second part. I would have pulled her up when she moved on after he'd given his answer and said, "Why didn't you ask me to answer the second part of the question?"
Yeah, but
I'm a bastard.
But do you know what? Do you know what I would do? She'd already asked him. She said, "Elon, will you come back and do a part 2?" Right? Yeah. She's already said that. Will you come back and do a part 2? And if I was Musk, and I'm serious about this deal, because once again, we don't even know if he's really seriously about this, right? Mm-hmm. But if I am serious about this deal, and I'm Elon, and I'm listening to, these are essentially hostile questions, right? They're dressed up nicely, but they are hostile questions. You can tell that the Twitter staff submitting them are hostile. Yeah. I'd say, absolutely, I'll come back and I'll do a part 2 when we've closed the deal. And then the first thing I would do, close the deal, do it the day that the deal closes, is, hi there, Leslie, you're fired.
Play into the leadership of the companies that you currently run. How would it affect Twitter, if at all?
Well, my political views, I think, are moderate, at least as would be, as if you said, like, what is the center of the normal distribution of political views in the country? I think I'd be pretty close to the center. I've voted Democrat every election until this recent one this week, and then I voted for Mayor Flores, who is a Republican, but she was Mexican American, and I thought a good candidate.
No, but according to the left, well, I say the left, according to Democrats, who are, let's face it, the far left at this point, she's not Mexican American, right? Because she's Republican.
You know what? Yeah, but you know what? What is this obsession with Americans having to be something other than American?
Well, this is it. I mean,
are you an American or are you an American? Are you British or are you an? I mean, you never hear anyone talking about African British.
Well, if I was to go to the USA and gain US citizenship, which is something that is an ambition of mine, by the way, right? I want to die in that country. That is where I want to be laid to rest. I don't
go to Chicago.
It wouldn't take long. It wouldn't take long.
Exactly.
But the point is, if I was to actually achieve that dream, if I was actually to achieve that goal, I'd embrace it wholeheartedly. I'm an American, right?
Yeah.
I would embrace it.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, yeah, sure. I was born in Britain, but I burnt my British passport, right? I don't get it as well. It's like you'll see the Sikh community here in they're the most British people going, right? A lot of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
They absolutely love it.
They don't say I'm an Indian British. No, I'm British.
No.
You're either British or you're not.
Exactly.
Whereas Americans always have to be something else.
Well, I mean, even Ron DeSantis did call Elon an African American.
Yeah, that was class, though.
It was class. And I mean, it's technically true. And people say he's not African. And then people point out that Africa is a continent.
Yeah.
Right?
And he came from it.
Adam says Ben shall be buried in Vegas and turned into casino chips.
Be fed to the lions.
See, my dad's a weird one, right? He's pretty certain I'll die before him. Thanks, Dad. Right?
And
But he said,
what's he going to do?
He said he wants the skin from my arm so he can make a lamp. He's always said that to me. Weirdo.
Out of your tattoo?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. He's always loved it for some reason.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Carry on. Come on.
I tell you an even worse one, actually. There was an ex that told me that if I died before her, she's keeping my eyes in a jar. That's a weird one, right?
Yeah. Carry on, Elon. Thanks.
And worth voting for. So, but I'm in favor of moderate politics. But allowing people who have relatively extreme views to express those views within the bounds of the law.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
As I said publicly, I think if let's say the far left 10% and far right 10% were equally upset on Twitter, then that would probably be a good outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
No, with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Carry on.
I want to just talk about our business for a minute. You've spoken about
He's gonna change it.
incentives that the ad business creates for services like Twitter.
Wait a minute, what freaking business? They don't make any money.
What role does advertising play in the future of your business plan for the company?
I think advertising is very important for Twitter. So in the case of, say, Tesla or SpaceX, there's no need for advertising because the demand exceeds our production. So, advertising is fundamentally a demand generator. And occasionally you want to get some other message out there, but it's fundamentally a demand generator. So, given that Tesla demand is far in excess of production, there's no need for Tesla to advertise. But I'm not against advertising. I would probably, want to talk to.
I don't think that's what she asked.
No, well, she asked how important. She asked what his business plan for the company was.
I think what she meant by it was having advertisers on the platform, not advertising the platform.
Yeah, I think he's misread that one.
Yeah.
To the advertisers and say hey, let's make sure the ads are as entertaining as possible.
Oh, well, maybe he hasn't.
I think they're more effective if they're entertaining. You want you don't want to be strident or spammy in the ad, and then of course I don't think it's good to allow advertising of any products which are.
Okay. No. I was wrong there. Absolutely, I was wrong.
He's on track.
Shalini, the board unanimously agreed the decision. Was it the day before yesterday? The buyout.
Yeah. It was either yesterday or the day before. Yeah.
So we are reaching, I guess, closing at some point.
Well, bad products. I was literally scammed on it. I bought this thing off of a YouTube ad and it didn't work. And then I Googled it and
was that
it's
Tesla?
Have you ever bought anything off a YouTube ad, John?
No. Fucking hell, no.
No, neither have I. I can't say that I have. I mean, for the last 2 months...
I'm even loath to buy something off eBay.
I was going to say, for the last 2 months, right? For the last 2 months, YouTube have been trying to make me go to Tel Aviv in Israel. They've been trying. Every other advert, come to Israel, sun, sand, sea, and an amazing night. No.
Yeah.
No.
I'd take a day trip to Gaza and watch us killing people.
Oh, good God.
Once you click on the second page of Google search results, it's this product totally doesn't work and it's trash. And I'm like, well, what the hell is YouTube allowing advertising of scamming products? That's totally not cool.
Because they paid them.
Cool.
Do you mean to tell me that Elon Musk doesn't have YouTube Premium? So he avoids the ads.
I mean, that is kind of what he's getting at here, isn't it?
Yes.
Unless
you cheap.
No. because remember, a lot of content creators have sponsorships, so they create their own
Oh,
ads.
yeah, okay.
So it could have been from one of them. It could have been a Ridge wallet. It could have
Well,
been.
they work.
It could have been that he downloaded Raid Shadow Legends and it was actually a pile of shite, right?
I wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know either, but it doesn't look amazing. It looks like repetitive, boring shite, to be honest.
So, like, and I think if the advertising is entertaining, interesting, it's something you might actually want, and the product would be, fulfilling to the Twitter user, then I think that's great advertising.
Is he going to let Coca-Cola advertise on the platform? Now, the reason I ask this is because it's very fulfilling to me, right? But it's probably killing me at the same time.
No, well, hey, hold on a minute. If you want freedom of speech, then does that not apply to the ads as well?
See, I would say it does. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think ultimately he will probably let just anybody advertise on the platform because he wants the money.
As long as it's legal.
Yeah. I mean, let's not advertise, use of freaking trafficking services or something like that. Let's not do that.
So nothing about Ukraine, okay?
Good God.
You brought it up.
Did I say the word Ukraine?
You said trafficking services, and they are in the top 3 of the world's traffickers.
So, Elon, we're going to go over. Is that okay?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Can you talk a little bit about Twitter and payments? You mentioned this a few times in different settings. We'd love to understand your thinking there.
Yeah, I think money is essentially a form of information. So, it's information that allows us to exchange products and services without having to barter, and allows people to shift obligations in time. But money is fundamentally digital at this point, and it has been for a while. Are
we getting a basic economics lesson now?
Yeah, we're getting a basic economics lesson from Mr. Musk.
Why?
Shalini says, so hang on, Twitter doesn't make money. No, it doesn't.
No.
It does.
Google didn't make money for 7 years.
It's a publicly traded company and it makes no money. It loses money constantly.
And as did Google and as did Amazon.
Yes, true, but Twitter is probably just as old as some of those.
It's not as old as Google, is it?
It's not as old as Google, but it's probably as old as Amazon.
Okay, I don't know. I'd need to check.
But it's basically, it should be in the green, and it's not. And the reason it's not in the green, communism.
PayPal, I think has done a great job on the payments front. I think it would make sense to integrate payments into Twitter, so that's easy to send money back and forth.
So basically, what he's saying is because on my Twitter account, there's a little money thing, and it directs people to the Patreon, right? So they can click the money thing, and they can click go to the Patreon. So what he's trying to say is, I think they should be able to just donate straight to us.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good. Okay.
Right.
Without a middleman.
So using their own payment process, I guess.
Oh, so they'll take the cut instead of someone else.
Yeah, but they're already kind of doing that because
they've got this tip thing, haven't they?
Well, yeah, they've got this sort of premium thing. Tim Pool, for example, you can go on Tim Pool's Twitter account, and in order to see premium tweets, you can pay Tim Pool like $7.99 a month. Yeah, $7.99 a month to read some tweets by Tim Pool. No, thank you. I like Tim, by the way, but I'm not paying him £8 a month to read his tweets.
And fiat currency as well as crypto. It's essentially whatever somebody would find useful. So, like I said, the goal, my goal would be to maximize the usefulness of the service. The more useful it is, the better. And if one can use it to make convenient payments, that's an increase in usefulness. It's sort of news, entertainment, and payments. I think are like three critical areas. But really, it's just about sort of thinking about how to...
So what he's trying to say is, in an ideal world, Twitter would actually become a really, really good platform for us, right?
Yeah.
Because we can be highly entertaining. Some people come back every night, right? So they must enjoy what we do. You must enjoy what we do, either that or you're just very self-flagellating people. It's one or the other, really. And that means you punish yourselves daily. Well, yeah, so realistically speaking, hopefully, if he creates this version of Twitter that's entertaining, that can do payments, that can monetize, right? Then we should hopefully be able to do quite well on that platform. Hopefully. And others like us. I'm not talking about just us. I'm talking about others like us, people that do what they do. Content creators who talk about things that may not be heard on platforms like Facebook, on platforms like Instagram or TikTok, right? Hopefully, they will be able to create a nice audience and a nice space on this dream platform of Mr. Musk. The proof is in the pudding, though, John.
Okay.
How to make using Twitter so compelling that you can't live without it, and that everyone wants to use it.
I wanted to stay on the product. I know, you did touch upon this earlier, but it's a recurring question around the authentication piece. In terms of you're saying you want to authenticate all humans. So just to sort of double click into that, balancing this with those who benefit from anonymity, right, from safety perspective, especially, for example, human rights activists and marginalized communities. So it's sort of...
is she on something?
She's a communist, John.
Yeah, but she's really like active, and her eyes are really quite dilated.
She's far lefty. She's a communist. She's very clear. She's talking about...
Do you think she's taking a little something to put her in the mood for this?
I mean, I'm not gonna make any allegations, but
I'm just asking.
It's wholly possible. It's wholly possible. I mean,
she definitely seems a bit out there, doesn't she?
Well, with me, it's sugar, actual sugar. I just consume loads of it in drink
form.
Sugar
targets the same opiate receptors as opiates do.
Well, I'm on opiates too, legal ones.
So, there you go. You're getting a double hit.
Yeah, I'm on tramadol. I'm on codeine. I'm on loads of stuff.
Can you just clarify again and speak to that sort of that tension and how you think about those groups specifically? Anonymity is sort of core to how the service.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary for someone to use their real name. So if one, say, does a payments-based authentication, I think it should be okay to not use your real name on Twitter. So Twitter would...
I agree with that.
Would know who you are, at least from a payment standpoint. But you would not have to state your real name or anything. That's obviously important, where if someone has different political views from their manager, let's say, then they don't really want to get crosswise there, and so that it'd be better for them to, have a pseudonym on Twitter, but it still be back-end authenticated. And like I said, at no point would I suggest that you have to be authenticated in order to use Twitter. It's just that it would just be a prioritizing of authenticated comments and actions on Twitter over unauthenticated.
I would be quite happy, this is just me personally, I'd be quite happy to authenticate with the company. What we do is public, we're public people, we speak to the public every single day. I would be quite happy to authenticate with Twitter. And I know there are people who won't be, absolutely, and I absolutely am fine with that. But I would be happy to use my real name, I would be happy to authenticate only on the back end if I decided to just come out as like Chasing Dissent or something like that. But I would be happy to do that, and it's nice to see the choice given. I still don't agree with this artificial prioritization of those who want to.
Well, you can understand why, though.
Yeah, I
because
can.
the thing is, if you're a named person and you've verified yourself with Twitter and you've given details that are known to be accurate, then you're a much better bet for an advertising.
Yeah, no, okay, because they know that you're an actual person. Yeah.
Well, and they'll know because of I would no doubt that one of those things will be taking a cookie for advertising and things, so they'll know your interests and stuff like that. So you'll be much more attractive to advertisers.
Well, like I said, whilst personally, especially because of what we do, we've had to put ourselves out there, right? I had to dox myself because I was doxed. I'm at the point now where I don't care personally, but also I fully appreciate that people do care. I fully appreciate that people want to remain completely anonymous, and that they should be absolutely entitled to do so. Perhaps if they're breaking the law. No, John, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
You just froze like a statue, and I thought your screen was frozen. You're like this. Anyway,
in order to combat the sort of bots and trolls, and essentially, it needs to be much more expensive to have a troll army. Whereas right now, it's basically very inexpensive to have 100,000 fake Twitter accounts.
And you have certainly been very vocal on Twitter.
Well, me personally, yeah. Like I say, I've been doxxed. I've been the victim of a troll army, and then once I disappeared off Twitter because of their false claims and stuff like that, they then attacked and trolled vehemently my wife, right? To make it more expensive for people to do this would be, I would be, see, once again, like Shalini says in the chat, he's not a good guy. What is a good guy?
Well, show me someone in that position who is.
Well, exactly. You don't make billions upon billions upon billions of dollars by not shafting somebody else along the way. You don't.
He's a liar. He's a proven liar.
Yeah.
And we know that.
But the question is he lying to Twitter or is he lying to us? Because some of the things he's saying seem like he's stroking their ego, and then some of the things he's saying seem pretty good. This is a tough one to crack.
You are very vocal on Twitter, and often your tweets and even emojis create news cycles. You have been also critical of the company on Twitter, which obviously impacts lots of discussions, conversations, and perceptions from whether it be partners or even our employees. How do you think about these tweets? Do you look at the reaction or think about the reaction of those?
Leslie really didn't think about headspace, did she?
These tweets, and just curious for the thinking behind.
I know what Leslie's doing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think
what's Leslie doing?
Leslie has an incredibly high forehead.
You think?
You saw a glimpse of it earlier on.
You think it's one of those ones?
She went like that, and her head just kept on coming.
Is it one of those ones? If you jumped off it, it would probably be a bad ending.
Do you remember those adverts for Tefal?
I'll continue.
It would be helpful. One thing about words is that it's hard to convey tone, and so it's possible for essentially people will sometimes take the words and then assume they were said in maybe an angry way or a vindictive way or something like that. But I mean, hopefully you can tell. Like my normal tone is not. I'm not an angry person. I almost never raise my voice. So, like in a year, I might not have raised my voice literally. So this is not so sometimes people may.
I can kind of believe that because I think he would sound ridiculous if he raised his voice.
I think, oh wow, he's sort of yelling and screaming or something, but I'm really not. So it might be maybe some way to indicate tone. I mean, emojis sort of do that, but I don't know. Maybe there could be like where you have like a irony flag or something. This is an ironic, this is an ironic tweet or something like that.
Listen, I think Spaces is a great product. for you.
If we need to tell people we're being ironic, they probably shouldn't be reading our tweets.
See, the problem you've got with Twitter is people will read your tweet out of context.
Oh, they always do, yeah.
Right. So if they read it out of context, they can't tell if you're being ironic or sarcastic, and that's the issue. And that's why, dare I say it, people shouldn't make out of context tweets.
Ooh, that's... No, I'm not so sure about that one, and I think you are. I think you are getting at someone in particular here, John.
No, I'm not.
And I'm not going to name that person.
They're not here anyway, so I'm just being a dick.
You as well. We
Yeah,
also have voice tweets, which I don't think I've seen you use before, but I think that would add sort of your literal voiceover and color to some of the things that you tweet. So maybe you can sort of.
Oh, sure. That's a good idea. I should. Yeah, maybe I could just say it.
I like Twitter Spaces. I think they're good, but then at the same time, I see people using Twitter Spaces every day and they just log onto it, and they stay logged onto it for about 12 hours, and they just talk about absolute shite. I mean, that's fine.
I'm not getting into it.
I like it, but I don't like the fact that it's mobile only. So if I come onto the Twitter. If I come onto the main Twitter website, I can listen into a space and I can listen to it on desktop, but I can't join in. So I couldn't come in on this rig, this audio rig at all. You can't do it. You have to do it on a mobile, and I kind of don't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Or you could read it, but then you can also see how I would have said it. Like then you know, if you're like, I wonder if you said that in an angry way, and then you could see how I actually said it.
Yes. Absolutely. That'd be amazing. On your, I know I'm going to only push you about 10 more minutes up at the hour, so I'm holding you until then.
Leslie, you don't have the right to hold him until anything.
That's an HR person talking, isn't it?
Yeah.
Your role at the company, there's been some discussion about will you be CEO, will you not be CEO? What can you speak to this, and how do you anticipate your role sort of influencing strategy, day-to-day, the vision?
Well, I guess I'm not that hung up on titles, but I do want to drive the product in a particular direction.
He's going to be CEO.
So, it could be like, I don't really care what, about being CEO. In fact, I renamed myself Techno King at Tesla.
Which means CEO. He just renamed it.
Or just Chief Operating Officer.
Yeah.
With an official SEC filing.
Yes, we saw.
Yeah. And then our CFO was renamed Master of Coin, which I think is a cooler thing than CFO. What I really just want to do is like drive the product, improve the product, and it's like basically software and product design. So I don't mind doing other things, related to operating a company, but there are kind of chores. There's a lot of chores if you're the CEO, I really just want to make sure that the product.
So what he's going to do is he's going to install a CEO, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he's going to create a position above that, which he's going to give himself, right? Bob Iger did this at Disney. So Bob Iger has finally left Disney now, I believe. But when he handed the CEO-ship over to Bob Chapek a few years ago, he then moved into a more senior position above Bob Chapek, and this is a publicly traded company, but this is what the board wanted, because they didn't trust Bob Chapek to run Disney, and they probably still don't. He's useless. But Bob Iger sat in this executive position where it all went through him, and I think that this is exactly what's going to happen here. He's going to create a position above CEO that he is going to sit with him.
It evolves rapidly and in a good way. I don't really care what title is, but I do. Obviously, people do need to listen to me if I say like, "Hey, we need to make the product improve the product in the following way, make the following changes, add these features, then, like I do expect that people listen to me in this regard.
He's saying you do as you're told.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's how what I do at SpaceX and Tesla. So, I'm really just working with really engineering and production, like it sometimes may seem that wow, Elon's really out there a lot, but actually I'm not. If you see how many actual interviews do I do, it's quite a small number. But if I do a tweet, they'll like make an entire 2-page article about it, So I'm basically get far fewer. I'm actually quite internally focused at SpaceX and Tesla, even though it may not seem that way. And it's really just evolving the rocket technology with SpaceX and providing global internet with Starlink, and then Tesla, it's about accelerating sustainable energy, and with electric cars and stationary battery packs and solar.
Not sustainable.
Power, and the fundamental good of Tesla, I would say, is measured by how many years did we accelerate the advent of sustainable energy, and then the fundamental good of SpaceX is, are we able to make life multiplanetary, and thus improve the probable lifespan of consciousness. If I were to say, what is a unifying philosophy for me, it is we should take the set of actions most likely to extend the scope, scale, and lifespan of consciousness as we know it. So that's what set of actions?
He's a fruitcake, John.
Yeah, well, he's gone off at a tangent here because he's talking about consciousness and nobody knows what it is.
Well, exactly.
So he's wanting to extend the lifespan of something that he doesn't know how it exists in the first place. So I think that's a bit. I think maybe he is a fruitcake. Yeah.
He's got more money than sense. He plays with rockets and electric cars. Have you seen the state of the Cybertruck?
I wonder what kind. Yeah, no, it's fucking awful.
But so many people bought it.
I know. I wonder what kind of train set he's got.
I reckon he's got one hell of a train set, John. He just seems the type, doesn't he?
Yeah, I can imagine him going into his train room, crawling into the centre of his layout, putting on his hat and going woo woo.
I mean, just expanding my. Do you reckon this guy takes LSD?
Possibly. I wouldn't like to make any kind of allegation, though.
I would wager that he may have tried it.
He'd probably gone down the ayahuasca route. I
mean, expanding your consciousness, man. I mean, he does seem like a hippy-dippy tree hugger, doesn't he? He does.
He's what I would think a regular kind of liberal.
He's a liberal. He's a bit out there.
He's what a liberal should be, and that's okay.
He needs to stop trying to wire monkeys' brains up, though. That needs to stop.
Yeah,
Elon.
See, this is the part. This is the part where it gets problematic, doesn't it?
And I mean, I hate that word, but you can't ignore it. You can't ignore it. I don't want to be hooked up to the internet. I don't want implants. I don't want these things. And I know there are people that do. Okay, there are people that do, but I'm not one of them. And my fear is, when we talk about technology and how it's often designed for good by people who have good intentions, it's then what people take and do with it. And wiring people up to things like the internet and wiring people's brains up to like central networks and things like that has real problematic connotations. What can be done with it? And I don't trust it. I just don't trust it.
Improve things at a civilizational level, and improve the probable lifespan of civilization. Our civilization will come to an end at some point, but let's try to make it last as long as possible. And it would be great to understand more about the nature of the universe, why we're here, the meaning of life, where are things going, where do we come from, can we travel to other star systems and see if there are aliens.
I could imagine Elon fitting very nicely, actually. Very, very nicely into the History Channel show Ancient Aliens. Have you seen that show?
Yeah.
If he appeared on screen,
I'm not saying it's aliens.
Yeah,
but it's aliens.
But if Elon appeared on Ancient Aliens, yeah,
yeah,
alongside like Giorgio Tsukalo and all of those others,
yeah,
he would not
David Wilcox.
He would not look out of place.
David Hatcher Childress.
He would,
and Jack Dorsey. I think he would fit in well as in there as well.
No, Jack Dorsey is. You're gonna find him in some commune somewhere, like high on LSD.
You're gonna find him anally raped and tied to a
no, no, didn't have to go that far. Didn't have to go that far.
Okay, it is after dark. After all,
it is after dark, but that was just. Jack Dorsey, like I say, Jack Dorsey, we're definitely going to find, I think in some commune somewhere, in a poncho, beard down to the floor, doesn't know who he is, doesn't know where he is.
There might be a whole bunch of long dead, one planet civilizations out there.
And you're not going to find them.
That existed, 500 million years ago. If you think about the span of...
Fucking hell, sorry about the language, but he has gone all ancient aliens, he has. He's gone all ancient aliens.
Human civilization from the advent of the first writing, it's only about 5,000 years, which is nothing. Earth is roughly 4.5 billion years old. So
is it was there a previous civilization?
My question is, and I've got a very serious question with regards to what Elon is saying right now. What the fuck has this got to do with Twitter?
Yeah, well, I think that was Leslie led us astray. No, it doesn't matter if it's dark outside or not. This is After Dark, the show, Shilly. It's not a descriptive term for the actual what's happening outside.
And this doesn't obviously apply to anybody, or it could apply to some people listening back on the podcast or watching back on any of the platforms. But at the time of being live, at the time of recording, we are past the 9 p.m. watershed, people.
We are well past it. Well past it.
Civilization, as measured from the advent of writing, is a flash in the pan. And I think we want to take whatever actions we can to extend that flash in the pan to hopefully be a flame that lasts a long time.
I can't believe that the transition from aliens away from this conversation back to Twitter. What?
Exactly.
I'm not saying it's alien.
I'm agreeing with Leslie.
He's going to say the line.
Hold on.
Yes, but it's alien.
What does Twitter look like to you?
Did he hang up?
I got to stop trolling people about the alien stuff. Because people really think. To be clear, I've seen no evidence. I've seen no actual evidence for aliens.
Okay.
I get asked that a lot, and I think I know, and I've not seen anything.
Did he just say I've spent a lot?
No, he says I've seen a lot.
I'm pretty sure you'll probably find him as some kind of producer on Ancient Aliens. He's funding these guys.
He could be.
Okay, you've heard it here, everybody. Question about Twitter. When you look 5 to 10 years from now, what do you consider successful for yourself in acquiring the company?
One of the richest men in the world. I don't think he really measures.
You're basically just asking him what he wants to be when he grows up.
Yeah, pretty much. Elon, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Come on, Leslie. You're better than this.
You're
better than this, Leslie.
I want to go and walk around on Mars and take peyote.
You're better than this, Leslie.
Work that we do. What does success look like?
Yeah, so I think success would be a substantial increase in daily active users. I don't know, like I said, can you?
A profit, perhaps?
I was about to say, success will be making a profit.
Can we get daily active users over 1 billion? That would be, it's still only 1/8 of Earth, but that would be a huge improvement from where things are today. And I guess broadly speaking, like, is Twitter helping further civilization and consciousness?
What?
Like, are we? It's Twitter. I'm not saying transactions are complete, so I shouldn't say we. But like, is Twitter contributing to a stronger, longer-lasting civilization where we're better able to understand the nature of reality? I would say, like my philosophy.
Oh my God! It's like right. It's like hang up, Ian, hang up. You've done the aliens thing. Now you just hang up because you're now talking absolute drivel. Just hang up. Yeah, stop.
Trying to understand the nature of the universe.
What is Twitter?
It's the fucking universe. No one needs to understand how it works.
And Twitter has nothing to do with it.
Stop.
On Twitter.
Hang up.
On Twitter, we post memes, we talk to each other, and we have a laugh.
It is possible to understand. So, in order to understand the nature of the universe, we must expand the scope and scale of consciousness and extend the life of consciousness. I guess, broadly speaking, it would be, has Twitter meaningfully improved the strength and longevity of civilization?
What?
I know that we have gone meaningfully over. So first of all, thank you so much for the time. Thank you for coming back for a part 2. Thank you for continuing the conversation with all of us.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. We'll talk very soon.
All right, thanks. Bye.
That's some lofty goals there.
Go to the right frame. I'm just right.
That's some lofty goals there. He just outlined, doesn't it?
I mean, Mr. Jungle Griffin just said it, right? He says Twitter will become Skynet. He was kind of...
That's the second good laugh I've had today.
He was kind of doing so well as well.
He was. You realise what the podcast's going to be called?
Oh, I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
Yeah, but it's aliens.
Shalini says, OMFG, he's lost the fucking plot. Is he trolling them?
I think he... Yeah. You know what?
Is he troll? Is this one massive troll that's going to cost him $1 billion?
This is your... He's based himself on Robert Downey Jr.'s part of Iron Man, right? Without the suit. So I think he's just at it now. He is trolling them. He's got to be either that or he's actually lost it.
Oh, it's quite funny, really, isn't it? It really is quite funny.
I mean, I like watching Ancient Aliens. I think that quite amusing. It's
I find it extremely entertaining. I find it very amusing. But I think
he didn't. How the freak can you go on an all hands ask me anything to aliens?
You tell me, man.
That's a segue that even I wouldn't attempt.
I'm not gonna lie, it did get it got very entertaining.
That was better at the end, wasn't it?
I mean, he did admit he was trolling them at that point. He said, "I've got to stop trolling people about aliens." Right?
He did that.
But Shalini says he's a fucking Fruit Loop, folks.
Well,
but the question is he doing this on purpose? Is he doing this entirely on purpose?
He's actually a hard one to read.
He's a very hard one to read. I mean, for the first sort of 10 minutes, 15 minutes of that, I did say, it looks like he's holding back laughter, right? It looks like he's holding back laughter. So if he pulls out of this deal, he's in the can. So the pre-contracts are signed. He's in the can for $1 billion, right? He has to pay $1 billion to pull out of this deal.
Yep.
But do we think, now that the board have unanimously agreed, that's the next step, right? The next step is done. And he's gone. Do we think he is going to go through with this for the lulz?
He might.
I think it's like you say, it's such a hard one to read.
I think he's got to the stage that if he doesn't go through with it, he's going to look like a complete and utter jerk.
So is he going to go through with it for the lulz?
Yeah, I think he will. I think he's going to buy it.
And then, if it was me, right, I'm just saying, you can clip this segment.
I'm not saying how long he'll keep it.
But people can clip this segment, right, in some responses to Elon. But what I would do, and I said it earlier, is I would hold off on part 2. I would hold off on part 2 until closed. And then I'd start firing everyone. I would just... Because we've got Twitter engineers, senior engineers on video with Project Veritas who provided that, saying we're communists and we don't care about profit.
Yeah.
Them's got to go. Right? I am a staunch capitalist. Sue me. Don't care. I think people should be able to make as much damn money as they can or please to and live whatever life they want to, right?
Yep.
And I think everybody should have equal opportunity to do that. But I wouldn't want to run a business that was losing money hand over fist. And the only reason that Twitter still exists is because its funding comes from its public stockholders. Yeah?
Yeah.
Now, if it goes into private hands, it is all or nothing for him. So he is going to need to turn a profit, and quickly.
It will be the night of the long knives.
Yeah, did you see the Red Wedding in the Game of Thrones?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be the Red Wedding.
We're going to lose some characters.
Do we trust that he believes in free speech? And that is the question, really. Do we trust that he believes in free speech? Do we trust that the mass bannings are going to stop? Do we trust that he won't verify and ask for ID from everybody? Because he has always said, I want to verify all humans, right? And that could just be from a reCAPTCHA.
Yeah, verifying all humans in itself means nothing.
No, I agree, but there are so many people that think it means we're going to have to submit ID and things like that. And well, I don't lean there.
He was on record. He said during that Twitter will always be free to use anonymously,
which I think is good. I think that's good.
You'll just be deboosted effectively.
You think he will go through with this for the lulz, right?
Well, I think he'll go through with it.
I'm still on the fence. I don't know.
Yeah. See what happens.
I'm still on the fence. I think it's very possible.
I'm hoping this is the start of a run of wrongs for me.
Well, like I say, I'm on the fence, so I really can't be wrong.
Yeah, I mean, if I get the one I really want to get wrong is the China versus the world scenario.
Well, like I said, I think you are partially wrong.
Yeah, I hope I'm wholly wrong.
I don't think you will be.
Yeah.
I mean, I just saw in the chat actually that Ukraine has been accepted by the EU for consideration today.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
which is almost a declaration of bloody war.
These people,
isn't it? It's almost a declaration of war because that's a red line.
But it's Well, that's the EU,
and that's not us.
It's not such a big deal as NATO, but it's still it's still a red flag. And the thing is, how much Ukraine's going to be left by the time Putin's finished rubberizing?
It's a very, very good question. A very, very good question. Anyway, John, silence for 30 seconds while I do the thing.
We would love it if you would support us on patreon.com/ChasingDissent or subscribestar.com/ChasingDissent. We'll accept anything that you want from as little as £1 a month. £1 measly pound. So please feel free, if you can afford it, and only if you can afford it, to support us to continue bringing you the content that we really enjoy doing and that we really hope you enjoy listening to. Thank you.
Look at him. How can you resist?
Please.
How can you resist that face? How? How can you resist? And in fact, your Patreon donations have just paid for a year's worth of video editing. So thank you for that. Thank you for that indeed. It's really, really appreciated.
Oh, that was convenient.
Yeah, it was. Well, it was really appreciative. And it means that we can, or I can, on this end, do a load of editing. John, he's gone. Where's he gone? He's frozen. At 2 hours. At 2 hours, he has frozen. We did so well. He's back.
That's bizarre.
He's back.
Almost exactly on 2 hours.
So, anyway, we're going to do a bit of housekeeping and then we're going to get out of here. So, thank you once again for anyone on all platforms for joining us. Join us tomorrow if you are up at 7:35 a.m. where we will both be live with the wonderful Sonia Bolton.
Nobody told me it was the morning.
You go on a breakfast show in the morning, John?
No, I don't eat breakfast.
You go on a breakfast show in the morning, John.
Oh my God.
I've got my alarm set for like 6:30, so I can get up, I can medicate, I can consume coffee.
Okay.
You wanted to join me. You wanted to join me. So
I'll be there.
Will you though, or will I ultimately end up doing this alone?
Hey, I got a haircut.
You did get a haircut. Was that for tomorrow?
Yeah. And I'm just going to have a shower and a shave right now.
Well, look, I've got this hair.
And I'll put your t-shirt on.
What, this t-shirt? Oh yeah.
One very similar.
I was going to say, look at this, right? Absolutely fooked, right?
Oh, what happened?
The police happened.
Oh,
I was wearing it at the time when I was assaulted, John.
Bastards.
Yeah.
Torn.
Yeah.
The bastards.
Yeah, absolute bastards. I think they owe me a shirt.
Yeah, they do.
I do. I think they owe me a shirt.
Well, you can claim what you won your case.
Yeah.
Just put a motion in for the expenses.
Yeah, and when
damage.
And you massively inflate the price of the t-shirt.
£200, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think that seems about right. You had it made, so
yeah. I'll send you a receipt.
Send me a receipt. Absolutely. Send me a receipt.
Fly by night. Screen printing.
What's that? £20,222. Yep. This was one of four.
Yeah.
Anyhow, John.
Yes.
Do your thing.
Thank you, one and all, for attending the special episode of After Dark with Elon Musk on his all hands call to Twitter.
It was good fun. I enjoyed it.
It was.
And
I'd like to wish you all a very good evening and good night.
Yes, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
That's all we've got time for this evening, so it's good night from me, and it's good night from him. Good night. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Stop playing with my bust!
Good night, everybody.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy.
You're a what?
A pianist!
Mwah! Good night, everybody.
You have been a delightful audience. So, good night. Thank you.
Oh, my bottom hurts. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Tim Bob.
Oh, I did love that hamster so. I took it into bed with me every night, you know.
Good night, everybody.
I think, ladies and gentlemen, I think I have to go now. I've been standing here for a very long time. I think the end of the show must have come and gone.
There you go. That's our solar system.
You forgot Uranus.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you for listening. You've been very nice to work to.
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.